ready for brand stories? Get inspired and learn from thought leaders, CEOs, business owners, managers, entrepreneurs, and experts who tell their brand stories and share their first-hand insights. Welcome to BrandsTalk. I'm your host, Brigitte Bakowski. I support entrepreneurs and organizations to become future market leaders by transforming their ambitions and passion into an online brand that radiates beauty, brilliance, and authenticity, attracting the clients and recognition they deserve. Let's get started and dive with me into the world of brands. My guest today is Elona Lopari. Elona is the visionary CEO of the Life School. She's a speaker and best-selling author of numerous books and show and speaking events organizer to an audience over 30,000 heart-driven, service-based entrepreneurs and corporations. She's both a servant community builder and a people connector. She's a prior Fortune 500 CEO, also featured in Disrupt, New York Weekly, Business Insider, CEO Weekly, The Business News, and Famous Times. Her mission is to help visionary leaders grow legacy, purpose-driven businesses through the inner alignment, branding, marketing, sales, and team so that they can maximize their impact and income to do more good in the world. I warmly welcome Elona Lopari. Welcome to BrandsTalk.
No, thank you so much, Bridget, for this beautiful introduction. And thank you so much for creating the space to conversate and hope that what we will share will be of high service to your audience. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so thank you so much for being here today on my show. And let's start off. What made you start your own business? Where are you coming from? What was your intention to start it? Let's share.
Yeah, I love that question because I've never would have thought that I would have been an entrepreneur. It was not modeled in my family. And, I moved to the US with my parents when I was only 15. And for the longest dream, my dad especially instilled in me the American dream. You get a good degree, you go through, you grow your professional career, you're good wife, mom, have the family and all of that. So that's kind of how I was groomed very early on. So that's exactly what I did, thinking that that was the path for me. And I would say that it served me for many years because I think nothing in life is ever wasted. It all builds the person that we are today. So that is what I did. I graduated business management and finance degree. And then I moved up the corporate ladder. I worked for a big corporation, Fortune 500 corporation, for 13 years. They were in growth mode. So I was very happy for many years. Every 2 years, I was getting promoted. I did HR for them, marketing, sales. I was a regional director, my latest position with them. However, I could see how quickly they were acquired by another company and their culture turned very toxic. I was seen as a number. There was a lot of issues with their culture. I just no longer saw a good fit, or I no longer saw alignment with their values, the mission, the vision of the company. So that's where my journey of conflict, so to speak, started. And I wasn't sure what I was going to do. I was leaning a lot into being an entrepreneur, which is now I know that's what it is, working again under maybe another company where I can bring my expertise and skills. And just through one conversation with my husband, he's just like, why don't you try being an entrepreneur? You already have a lot of experience over all these years. And that's kind of where the seeds kind of were planted inside of me and my journey started. I started with executive coaching, then I started with the career coaching, helping women leaders because I knew that market very well. I was one of them. Um, and then grew eventually from there. As I grew my baby business, I was still working. And then when I felt comfortable enough to make the leap, I did that and I went as a full-time entrepreneur. And now what I do, and just also love learning, growing, and evolving in this journey as well. I find that my gifts and my strengths and my experience lie in the business acumen and leadership, which is kind of what I've seen in my journey are my strengths. So today I help purpose-driven entrepreneurs and corporations. I've gone back to corporate, but on my own terms. I work with a lot of conscious companies that want to do more good in the world through the channel of their company or the through a channel of entrepreneurship, and they want to align their purpose with profits. So that is the work that pretty much fulfills me in my day to day today.
That is beautiful. And what a journey. And I'm very happy for you that you also had this supportive environment with your husband to actually, yeah, nudged you. Hey, why are you not just becoming an entrepreneur? You had someone who was supporting you on that journey, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And not everyone is lucky enough to have someone. And now, of course, there's so many online communities and like-minded people that you can start connecting with. And but yeah, for me, that's how it worked. He's a very practical guy, and I think that practical advice kind of just made sense to me at that time, despite all the fear and the uncertainty and this being a new territory that I never had really crossed, past before. It's like, okay, well, second plan B, you can always get a job. So he asked me,
Exactly.
so simple, guys. I said, that makes sense. Let me try it out.
At the end of the day, if you have not tried, and coming back to embarking on this journey, was there anything that was more difficult for you? What was really easy? What was flowing? What was your experience as a newly minted entrepreneur?
Yeah, I love this question as well because that this has also been a journey of growth, and I'm addicted to growth, and I know this is the best path for me to just continue on and work on my mission and my vision and the purpose of why I do what I do. But it's a lot of growth, a lot of overcoming, a lot of old identity shifts, realignment of values, recreating my vision, figuring out what is the life that I want to, live now? What is the lifestyle that I wanted to kind of just bring about in my day to day? Considering also my kids, 'cause I have two kids and they were in the preteen stage as well. So just doing a lot of long term planning, but not so much in that, just having kind of a big idea, just taking action. Like I just learned from being in a corporate environment that you just got to work, you just got to take action, you got to be disciplined. So I already had a lot of those habits. They just shifted them over to entrepreneurship. And I said, I'm just going to try. And I just put myself out there. I started networking. I started speaking about my message. I didn't even know what I was going to do. I wasn't clear on my message, my offer, none of that at the beginning. But just again, baby steps. That's kind of what I've learned had made me very successful where I worked. So I kind of picked up a lot of that old knowledge that was muscle memory for me and just, converted it to entrepreneurship. But of course, I aligned myself with mentors. I believe in this industry and I believe very, very highly that yes, I will learn from my own experience, but how cool is that? That if somebody is already on the other side that I already align with and I admire, why not align myself with these people and learn? Because I realized as an entrepreneur that I had to shift my mindset from employee to entrepreneur, and time is the most important commodity. Something I never realized when I actually was getting a salary or a paycheck. So shifting a lot of mindset for sure, overcoming a lot of fear, overcoming a lot of, fear of social media, showing up, visibility, vulnerability, all these different things. But, just like anything, baby steps into all the right steps that I needed to do, learning and growing from other people around me that already were very successful entrepreneurs. Those were kind of the beginning things that kind of helped me stay course in the path, but it was very hard for the first 2 years. Every day I thought of quitting because I thought this was just too hard. So I should
Yeah.
really share that with people because sometimes you just see the beautiful stuff on the outside, but every day I was like, "It's not for me. I'm gonna quit. I'm gonna quit." I'm going to my husband crying. It's like, "You were the one to tell me." You know? This is where as an entrepreneurship, whatever you're doing is also what I learned is you're planting seeds. So you don't always see the results of your labor. And I was very used to kind of just, okay, work and get paid and, that mindset of an employee. So that was another hard challenge for me to kind of just be like, well, I'm putting in so much time and energy. Like, where is my results? And I didn't even know what I was doing at the time. But so a lot of that.
How long did it take you until you saw the results? How many months or even years. I think we speak about years here
Hmm.
where results coming in, like financial return. And
Um,
when did you know this is it, what I want to do? When did you know this is my purpose? This is what I can bring to the table. This is exactly what I can do for my clients. When did you figure that out?
Yeah, at the beginning, I realized that because of lack of knowledge and awareness, or even the skills that I needed, I was focusing a lot on things that I seen, like a course. I just like recorded this whole program or course that took me so long, and I had like one or two people that joined it, so had no idea of the marketing and of the branding and all these other things. So that was the beginning taste of kind of like my first couple of clients, and those came from my old networks, people that already knew, like, and trusted me. It wasn't necessarily from, social media. And then my other couple of clients came from networking relationships that I had nurtured. So those were like the beginning phases of clients in the door. But then the next thing I did is just put in whatever I had to invest in a mentor. And they taught me a lot about all those other pieces that I didn't know, which is now what I do today for my own clients, right? Because it's almost like puzzle pieces. You think like you need one thing, but then it's like, okay, but then you like, how does this connect to this or that? So I can become profitable and I can focus on the right priorities that not only are going to build the know, like, and trust and build my brand. And that brand thing is such a big word, but it's just getting known, getting heard, getting seen. So then people could really understand how is it that I can help them. So that's kind of how very simply I see it today, but that's what I did was my first investment. And that's why now with them with my clients, I tell them you are the decision maker of the company. You go from solopreneur and then you grow through the different phases if you choose to do so. You need to have all the awareness and the knowledge and the expertise and the skills, because once you understand that you're the main decision maker, then you know which tool to bring to the table, you know which action to take next, right? You know all the right activities that are going to make you profitable, but also ensure that you are doing work you love. So I would say that that would be the other investment. That's why it sounds crazy to a lot of people that they kind of, find out about my frameworks. Like, oh, you do so much, you cover all these different topics. But for me,
Yeah.
but for me, it's all natural because I didn't have all these pieces in my journey. So I said, oh, every business needs this, this. So that's what now I do. I think that's what makes me unique in my approach, because I realized that I'm very process oriented. I was very good at operations, even as a regional director. Said, let me put my genius into place, connect all of this for people, and then have them kind of do one stop shop for all their business needs. Because, when you do just the branding, then you want to know, okay, now I build the know, like, and trust. Now, what do I do with, what else is there? Right. So, how does that go into marketing? How does that connect to my sales? How does that connect to the systems and then the right people to bring on board? So,
Yeah.
just, going through the motions and just getting results for myself is how I'm able to kind of piece it all together and then meet the businesses at the phase and stage that they're in, because you will have a different focus. And you
Yeah.
sometimes business solve for the wrong problem because they don't know what is the actual problem they're encountering. So, just packaging it all together, that's what makes me really good at what I do. And baby stepping everything just like puzzle pieces. But once it's put together, then it will work for you. It's a scalable business, because that will be the next problem. You want to know how to scale and how to.
Mhm.
So,
I mean, I see there are two avenues that you can go. Either your niche, and then you have business partners that you collaborate with, because then you can refer these to your clients. So when, for example, I do branding, I'm a strategist, but for the execution part, I have a business partner that I know works very well on web design, for example. So there you have also your network, but you're taking on a more holistic perspective. You have a bird's eye view. You are very organized and you're connecting the dots. That's where your focus, your genius is coming in. Let's talk a little bit about that, because you also talk about alignment. It's the inner alignment first. It's like the mindset shifting into a business owner's mindset, but also then when it comes to branding, marketing, and sales, these are all different fields that needs to be somehow connected and brought together, right? And then also, of course, the team that is working with you, because there also needs to be an alignment within the organization of personal and company alignment of values, of shared values, because when a company is healthy from the inside, that also resonates towards the outside to all the stakeholders. How do you help them grow such a legacy purpose driven business? What is your approach to that?
Mhm. Yeah, I love that you use quick keywords, holistic, because that's all about what I am about. Because I believe that we have seen successful businesses out there and brands that we might know, like, and trust and admire, but have kind of fallen in the track of time because they haven't had that holistic approach or that healthy culture, just like you said, from inside out. For me, a business is just like an individual. We run businesses, we're individuals. My team is individuals, my clients, individuals, my community is people. So once you understand people and what are their main needs, what are their basic needs, and how do we want to be part of something that we believe in, how we want to align with someone, some our own vision, but also someone else's vision or mission, or even when you are part of a community. I think it goes back to two things. People always want to grow, and they always want to contribute beyond themselves. So those two metrics, even being in HR, I've seen this firsthand, that those are the two things that kept retained talent for the companies, right? So those are two metrics that always align with us. But I think it starts with clarity. Clarity is power. What is your vision? What is your mission? Even when you're a
It's
young entrepreneur and you're solopreneuring, you are a company of one. You have a culture. You are the one. And then you start adding on different team members to the scene. But it starts with that, clarity on what is the work that you want to do. And I know you teach brands and branding. It's beyond the products and services that we sell.
always.
It's bigger. It's the bigger mission. Why is this important? Why should I listen beyond the program you have or the product that you have, right? So it's that cause. So clarify that. Tie your story, your personal story to your brand, right? Brand message and all these words that we might hear. But all of these are very important, but I think it starts with the clarity. And then when you start adding people around you, the more clear you are, the more you start attracting the right people around you, whether it's the
Mhm.
right client, the right team, the right community, the right partners that we talked about with strategic partnerships, right? The right referrals, all of that stuff. The more clear you are in your values, your vision, your mission, just like life. When you're an individual, the more clear you are about your personal life values, your vision, your mission in your personal life, the more you know who are the right people you want to surround yourself with and align with that. It's the same for a
Mhm.
company, whether you have one person or you have a million people working for you. And of course, you will grow and evolve, right? So that's the other part of companies. I refer to company growth just like parenting, because to me it is so relevant to that journey, right? I mean, your kids are small and then they grow up, but you have already instilled that. You have created the culture of the family, right? The values that they seen you operate under and lead by example as, let's say, the leader or the parent, they'll just embody those because that's just what they know. I remember from
Yeah.
my own family, there was things that I never had to question because I received a lot of positive values, like, always tell the truth, we always support each other. Like these things I never had to learn them again as an adult. So I
Mhm.
say
Mhm.
the more clear we are as leaders, the more we will know who to attract, and then, the rest of the part becomes about communication, and understanding that, um, doing touch ups, checkups, ensuring that we're always, on the right track with the things that we're doing, and diversity, surrounding yourself with amazing humans around you that complement you, not that are, smart.
Yeah.
That's the piece. Whether they're strategic partners, whether they're referrals, whether they're anything, we can always go further when we collaborate in business rather than try to compete. So yeah, in a nutshell, I think that's how I would answer your question there, Bridget.
Yeah. You also mentioned the seven foundational pillars to building a legacy company. Are you referring to these alignments of purpose with your profits? Or are you referring to integrity or sustainability, measurement of impact? What are you referring to when you talk about the seven foundational pillars?
Yeah, I'm referring to what we talked about: the branding, the marketing, the sales, the system, the teams. They're like the pillars that any company needs. You might be the one doing it all. And then later on, you want to start operationally organizing your home or your family or your company. You want to have departments like a bedroom, a kitchen, marketing, sales, like all these things that are always going to be needed to fuel the growth of the company. That's where you start creating sustainability and systems. Because a company is just like a machine that needs to run on its own, and that is how you want to build your company. Actually, I know a lot of, us are very attached to our new babies or older babies, depending on how long you've been, with your company. But you want to build your company to sell it because you want to build it as a separate entity. This is also, again, something that I compare to parenting. My job as a parent, my mission and purpose as a parent, I've always seen it that I need to just be that role model example of the best version of me that I can be. And then the other one is to make my kids as independent as they could possibly be, right? That's how you know in a company you're creating an asset. Because once you remove you as the founder and CEO, the company operates on its own, serves its clients, systems are
Yeah.
teams are
Yeah.
very independent. People know what they're doing and they will always do it. So long term bird's eye view of where we're building how we're building the company, you want to build it just like an asset because you just never know. Maybe later on your vision changes. You never know life. It's just like personal human life. Like, I don't know what's going to happen. I can plan, sure, but we also got to, be with the flow, and we also got to also be open to outside circumstances. Right now, we're facing a lot of innovation and outside circumstances. So just like anything, you control what you can, you build it as an independent asset, and then later on, you make the right decisions that align for you. Or even, you move away from those positions and you put the right people in place. I've seen a lot of CEOs and founders that are making those decisions, and they're amazing for the growth and sustainability of their company.
Yeah. I think it becomes tricky when, first of all, you see it's kind of your baby or your machine that you are creating and creating this as an asset. But then when you have this bird's eye view and looking at it from a long term perspective, then sooner or later be ready to sell it, to detach from something like that. Do you have any advice of how people can cope with that? To you know, Even though it's their company, but they know sooner or later they need to let it go, how to deal with that. We always talk about growing a company, it's being successful. And a lot of people say it's your baby, you're parenting that. But how can you let it go?
I think it's the detachment piece that you'll have to do some personal growth around. But I think it always starts with, why is it important to you to detach? That has to be a reason that makes sense to you. And that has to be a reason that's always bigger than you, right? Because I found that there's just so much we could do for our selfish needs as humans, but we could do so much for others. So I would say, you will know. I think intuition is very strong, and we all have that, especially company builders. We build that because we work with people all the time. I find that the more we work with people, the more we also learn how to tap into our own intuition. So I think you intuitively will know if it's time to detach. And I say the work there would be around figuring out, why is the detaching important for you? And how is that going to connect with sort of your bigger legacy that you want to leave behind?
Mm.
So taking a moment to kind of clarify that and sitting with that. I don't think that's something that you just know, like, okay, and I just know why I'm doing it. But, you know, using the tools that we use to grow personally as humans, meditation, sitting with your own inner self, right? Like, ask those questions to yourself and let that inner voice of intuition or higher wisdom or whatever people call it, kind of come with that. Because I think that's a very important decision. That's a major life decision. So I say that tap into your own wisdom to figure out the answer.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone can tell you what the right answer for you is. But just again, visualize what the next step of your life looks like. What do you want to do? How do you want to spend the rest of your time, right? And if that purpose of that next stage is bigger than this decision, then it might make sense for you. That's what I did with entrepreneurship. I said, well,
Mhm.
listen, I will put in the grit and, I'll put in the planting the seeds, but this aligns with my bigger purpose in life. So I'm willing to go through the hardships because that is bigger than what I'm doing now. So that always attracts me and it helps me go through some of the growing pains and the challenges. So I think we all have to clarify that for ourselves. And everyone's going to have a different answer. But honor what your inner wisdom tells you. I've never gone wrong with that. That was actually one of the things that I always talk about when I was feeling very in conflict to leave corporate. I kept hearing that inner voice that your path you need to go and do something else. But of course, it was hard to obey because I wasn't sure how to even listen to it or what it was telling me. So I just kind of ignored it for many years. I stayed there 3 years too many because of fear. So, you know, now I know
Yeah.
better. And I think that, yeah, well, that's what I would tell someone that might be going through a very life changing decision like that.
Yeah. It's usually the fear that's holding us back, something that we are making up. It's the stories that we tell ourselves, right? Even though it's not really there, it's something we are making up. But then the pain gets just too much, and then you have to decide. And either you are taking it in your own hands and say, okay, now I'm making that decision, I'm going to leave, or something else is going to happen. Either or, something is going to happen. And thank you so much for sharing your perspective also on detaching from another asset that we are building when it is the time. And I really like your explanation to that. Thank you so much, because we never talk about these kind of things. We always talk about, becoming an entrepreneur, starting a business, but what is next? What's the next step after that? Yeah.
Yeah, I love that you mentioned that because that's always been my curious cat mind. I'm always like, okay, so I'm doing this, but what's over here? So studying and looking at the journeys of other people 20 years, 30 years, 40 years down the line, of what kind of that looks like, I think helps you make these decisions now that align with sort of where that's coming, what you should be expecting in a nutshell. Obviously, your experience is going to be unique. And, we always evolve and society is moving along and evolving. But for me, like, that's why I love connecting dots because to me, like, that's all I do. I listen to, entrepreneurs and I listen to people from all different fields and then I'm piecing like information from their journeys. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, that's a common thread. Okay, that's a common, it's like an artist. I don't know what to even call this stuff, but I think for me, it's always been like, I've done this as a child too. I like to know, what are some like common threads in the journey of maybe like somebody that's following a similar path to mine? And then I'll study a few people and I'll just walk away with my own conclusions. And that helps me stay grounded now because, I have really good information or a good, clear idea of what that looks like. And I start looking for like things that repeat over once I study a few people or do a lot of market research. Um,
Yeah.
at least that helps. That helps a lot because just like you said, we just work here. A lot of people are over here, but they don't know, okay, wait, uh, I might be doing this here, but if you don't have like the vision of what could happen years down the line, that this here
Mhm.
might not even be the right thing for you.
Exactly. You can make more informed decisions if you have an intended strategy where you want to go. And I'm exactly the same as you. I love doing research and I love to observe other people who are inspiring. And, it's just, I'm very curious. How did they do it? And then seeing these common threads that they have, something that makes sense, connecting the dot, and then creating something that fits me as a person and the way of how I want to go forward. So there's so much we can learn from other people. I just really love that. Yeah.
And
Mm.
Bridget, one
And
more thing, and I think this is something we're sharing with a lot of people that I realized in my journey too, is that there's a reason why we get attracted to certain people. Like if I get
exactly.
attracted to a singer, I might have some talent inside of me. If I get attracted to someone that draws, I might have that. If I get attracted to another entrepreneur, obviously it's a common journey. But I think pay attention to the things that you pay attention to.
Yes.
Yes, we all don't
Exactly.
have
Exactly.
the same I don't care about certain things that maybe like I see my family kind of, like they love it. It's like their thing. To me, it's like, ah. So pay attention to that because I think that's another piece that we need to connect that is part of our purpose. Because there is a reason why I can look back in my even my childhood, and I just posted a video about I was speaking at 15, organizing like an event in my neighborhood. These things are not like things that happen by chance. There's a reason why I'm doing what I'm doing today because it's all connected to my unique path and purpose. So pay attention to the things you like to pay attention to. And there's a reason why you are attracted towards those or even the people. Because to me, it's like that's knowledge and information that's sitting inside of you waiting to be realized.
Exactly. That's what I'm doing with my clients as well when it comes to personal branding and when it comes to purpose and values. It's who are your heroes, the personal, professional. Whom do you admire out there? What is it exactly that you admire? And it's something that is maybe sitting very deep within you as well. So, absolutely, I totally agree with that. And we were talking about connecting the dots. And that's what I want to pick up again because next year you are going to launch your next book. Next year, it's like in 2 months almost. The next book is titled Visionary Purpose Driven Leadership. It's coming out in January. And you're talking about connecting the dots backwards. So it's a blueprint for life and business in discovering the leader within. What do you mean exactly? Are you re engineering backwards from your vision to the here and now and, strategize an intentional path? What is it?
This is my first one, connecting the dots backwards. And this theme, there's a reason why I'm very attached to my brand words or anything I do, or even the name of my company, because all of this comes from my personal, intuitive inner work. And to me, it came from the best place that it could ever be so that it's authentic. And I'm always very attached to that. But the other book that's coming out in January is really around the framework of how to be a conscious, purpose driven leader. I like to I like to put my books in series. So the first one was towards building your personal life vision and discovering your purpose. So that's more like a memoir. The next one is the purpose driven entrepreneurship, which I talked about, those 7 pillars. So, how to align your purpose with profit. And then this one is just focused on leadership because what happens is when you grow the company and you have those foundations that you would find in the second book, then you're going to need the next piece, which would be the high level leadership, right? So, how do you become a conscious leader, especially in today's world where people are very exposed to personal development and leaders are more conscious than ever, I say, at least the ones that obviously I align myself with or I want to speak to, because that is my people, right? So, how to be a conscious leader, how to make decisions, how to, instill your team around your vision mission, how to create a healthy culture. Just, I love the word you said from inside out, how to align your personal life to your company growth as well. Like these are some of the topics and chapters that I'm putting together, but it's more around a topics that I know are very relevant to even where we're heading with AI and how the world is going and the future, of work and culture, right? So it goes into some of the, innovative stuff that I think we're going to experience very shortly with the future, as I put a lot of research in the book as well. But it's also, I focused it around the main nuggets and topics that I think are definitely once a conscious leader is aware of those, then they have the right information that they need. And all they have to do is obviously personalize and apply it so that they can see the results in their own company. So that's what I'm doing with this latest one that is coming out in January.
Beautiful. We gotta have it in the show notes. Yeah, we're almost at the end, but I want to ask you two more things. One is, do you have three pieces of advice for visionary leaders to grow a legacy purpose driven business? Like the three cornerstones.
Start with the word vision.
Mhm.
If you have a big vision, there's a reason why you are actually the person that has that vision. So trust that. Trust,
Mm.
trust that bigger calling that you feel inside of you to create this big impact in the world. Because sometimes that is very scary. It's just like the word purpose. Sometimes when you ask people purpose, like, whoa, I don't know my life's purpose. That's just too big. So I would say that would be the first one. Have clarity on your vision and connect your vision to a cause, something that's beyond yourself. It's always in contribution to others. And that's definitely going to keep you going so that this big vision that might scare you, will slowly be realized and you're putting in the right bricks so that the home can eventually be built. So that would be the first one. The second one is invest in the right resources and people around you that complement you. So that would be the second one. And then the third one would be that think legacy. Don't build today for tomorrow. Build today for 20, 30, 40 years. A lot of decisions I'm making today are decisions that I'm probably going to see the fruits of my labor 30, 40 years. And yes, for most people, that's just too long. But that's what makes you different. And that's what makes you a visionary. So I'd say those would be the three things that are just coming at me right now.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Especially the last one, having like a really big goal. It's not something that can be achieved tomorrow, but in 20 years' time, you might not see it anymore. But having this like really the bigger vision, something that carries you forward. All
Mhm.
right. So that was great. Thank you so much for your three pieces of advice. And I want to round it up with a very quick word rap with you. I'm throwing out a term and you give me a very short answer. Are you ready for that?
Oh,
For that
perfect.
game? Okay, so the first word is success. What does it mean to you?
Fulfillment, contribution, leaving an impact. Even if I hear that I was able to create like a small little impact in someone else's life, to me, that's why I'm here.
Mm. Backwards. It's like
Backward?
connecting our backwards, yeah, because it's
Backward.
such an impactful word for you, so important for you.
Yeah, backwards is always reflecting in my journey, reflecting from my journey of the past, present, and future. So backwards means to me that because I don't know the future. So that's why even when I wrote my book, Connecting the Dots Backwards, I have enough information in my past. So let me leverage some of that to make decisions in the present so that I can build the future. So that's what that means to me.
Beautiful. Entrepreneurship.
Oh, I'm falling in love with this journey of no limits, no limit to growth, no limit to creation, no limit to impact, no limit to your limit is you. So entrepreneurship is just the channel of how one can realize their life's purpose. They can use their vocation to do good in the world. They can, create material goods. They can contribute towards causes. They can just very impactful contributor to society.
Mhm. New York.
Aw. Um, New York is my second home. I always say I love New York. It's that American dream. When I was driving in Manhattan when I was little, and my parents, would just be like, "Hey, you could be anything here," and I'm like, "Oh my gosh!" Like looking at all the buildings and stuff. And I was always a dreamer. Now that I look back, so New York for me is my second home. My first one's Albania. That's where I was born. And even in my work today is amazing how parallel I'm always like divided up. I'm doing work there and I'm doing work here. but it's almost like they all feed each other and they all complement each other. And I'm bringing in the best of what I learned here, there, and I'm bringing in the best of what I learned there, here. So it just adds to my complex or even the way I look at the world. So that's kind of what.
Yeah, that's what we do. Yeah, that's what we do as a global person, right? I see it the same way. um, AI, artificial intelligence.
am one of the the optimists, obviously, just like with anything. I I've always I've always been an early adopter to things, even with my company when they would introduce new things. Change is scary, I get it, and most people want to stay in the comfort zone, but I think it's the future. So let's learn how to use it smartly, use it purposely in your company. Be careful with your brand because obviously authenticity can be jeopardized, right? But as long as you know how to use it, just like any other tool, let's just keep it as a tool. And I know all the worries around, how big it can get and all of that. But just like anything, I don't want to thrive on fear and just stay with that, like what could be of what could be. Again, I'm going to focus on what I can control, get educated, stay up to date with what's happening, and see how I can best utilize it. But that's always been my principle for life. There's always the law of reciprocity, the law of polarity. There's always positive and negative. And I think the
Yeah.
best thing that we can do is try to manage the negative and try to use the positive to our own advantage so it serves us and the people around us. So it's been a principle very early on I adapted, and that's the same I use for anything. So I'm like, okay, let me see what I can do to use it and then try to manage the negative pieces because just like with everything, we're always going to get positive and negative. So just knowing that that's how
Yeah.
the world works, it just makes me focus more on what is going to help me serve me at my highest level or serve the work that I'm doing.
Ah, brilliant. So true. And last but not least, brands.
Brands. Um, Trust. That's kind of what speaks out to me with brands. Trust. And I think trust is one of the most important pieces in your relationships. Trust, connection, and service. You could be that brand that's purpose driven, right? So service as well. But yeah, that's what comes up to me for brands.
Okay. Thank you so much. Elona, where can people find you? How can they get in touch with you?
Yeah,
What should I do?
you can go to my website, my home, my hub is what I call it, because I have a lot of free resources for people there as well, and they can you get to know me a little bit better there as well. And that's the best way to start a conversation. So it's elonaloparicoaching.com. I'm working on the website for the life school as well, but for now, that's where I'm hosted, elonaloparicoaching.com.
Great. Elona, this was such a pleasure and a joy having you today on my show and share with us your wisdom of how to craft a legacy business. Thank you so much. Thank you.
You've been an amazing host, a gracious host, and one that attentively listens and is asking the right questions that come up with the right conversation. So I appreciate you holding the space today. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. If you like my show, follow BrandsTalk on your preferred app, share it on social media, and if you find a minute or two, leave a quick rating or review. Thank you so much. If you want me to guide you to become a future market leader by transforming your ambitions and passion into an online brand that radiates beauty, brilliance, and authenticity, attracting the clients and recognition you deserve, drop me an email. I'd love to be your guide on your hero journey. Check out my website, bridgetbrands.com. Connect with me on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. I hope you will stay tuned in on the next episode when we dive into the world of brands.